Next up at UFC 280. What are you laughing at?
That's an awful picture of Kelvin, man. That is a bad picture.
That's
That looks
the
like Romanov. That literally looks like they photoshopped Romanov that just showed up. It looks like they photoshopped Kelvin's face. Dude, Kelvin, I would get your media team on that quick.
That's the official UFC picture. And that picture will play into this breakdown. This is the man we're working with. This man right here. Kelvin Gastelum taking on Chris Curtis in the featured prelim fight, which Chris Curtis is not happy about it. Very vocal, very pissed off.
He figured it out, though. He kind of backed off it originally because it's mostly because Raul's on the main card. He's like this 18, 19-year-old kid. But I think once he realized because this is one of the bigger spots on the card. You've mentioned it time and
more people watch the prelims than the actual pay-per-view.
Right. This is like the main event for the people that don't want to pay for the pay-per-view, which is a lot of people. So
way more people watch the free fights.
And you've said this too. This isn't my words; these are your words, but I'll say them for you. You mentioned that they set up these fights to try and sell the pay-per-view. So they want a fun, exciting fight. So they trust these guys to be fun, exciting. So it really is a kind of a tip of a cap more than an insult to be the featured prelim for a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and unless you're fighting for a title or main event, you're not getting a cut of the pay-per-view money anyway. So it's just a prestige thing to be on a pay-per-view main card, but you're going to get more eyes on you here. But anyway, Kelvin Gastelum taking on Chris Curtis. Kelvin Gastelum 17-8 overall, 1-4 in his last 5. Coming off back-to-back main event losses. He's taking on Chris Curtis, 30-9 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. And he's coming off that performance of the night win over Joaquin Buckley. And this is an interesting fight. The line you can see flipped. Line movement tracker, very important in this fight. The line was slowly tightening. I bet it while it was tightening. And now it's just flipped. Full-on flipped. Kelvin Gastelum went from plus 140 underdog to minus 128 favorite. And I don't know if the line's going to rebound. Honestly, I guess the weigh-ins actually may affect it. If Kelvin Gastelum looks in shape at weigh-ins, it might keep going. If he looks like this picture at weigh-ins, that line's going to go right back to where it came from. But anyway, Kelvin Gastelum, I've mentioned this 1,000 times. He's a giant waste of talent. This dude has hands. He has wrestling. He has an iron chin. He has everything except work ethic. He should be a 170-pounder. Instead, he's a soft 85-pounder who doesn't really put in the time. Missed weight I think he's missed weight 3 or 4 different times. And he's just not dedicated to his career. He's the type of guy that is naturally talented, so never really had to work hard. And that's what you're going to get with Kelvin Gastelum. And he's taking on Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is a very clean boxer. Very, very good takedown defense. Solid power in his hands. Nice, clean, short shots. And, he is coming off that win over Joaquin Buckley where he was out-volumed, but then he put it together, got that knockout halfway through the second round. And on their best days, Kelvin Gastelum's best day versus Chris Curtis's best day, Kelvin Gastelum wins that fight 10 out of 10 times. But we haven't seen Kelvin Gastelum's best day in years. And
that was a loss.
Yeah, it was a loss to Izzy. And yes, Chris Curtis is also a 170-pounder. So they're two 170-pounders fighting at 85. But the difference is Chris Curtis looks like this at 185. He's in shape. He looks
bigger than that. I mean, he looks once he starts getting that high guard up and those shoulders start filling out, that guy is fucking jacked.
Like he earned his way up to 85, where Kelvin just is like, no, I'm not cutting weight. I'm not doing what I need to do. So Chris Curtis is going to be the pick. I do have a money line bet on him, and I'll tell you, it's not as good as you're going to get right now. And the reason I like Chris Curtis in this fight is because we know he's going to be the more powerful striker, right? He's got those short, small hooks that are putting people out. He should be the better, faster, cleaner boxer as well. He's definitely not going to be the better wrestler, but his takedown defense is so freaking good. And Kelvin Gastelum is not wrestling nearly as much as he should. So I think Chris Curtis is just winning these striking exchanges, potentially defending takedown attempts from a little bit too far away. So Chris Curtis is the pick. I have a money line bet on Chris Curtis. I would love to hear from all the people driving the Kelvin Gastelum line why they're betting on him, why he's their favorite. But I think I'm at 500 or less picking Chris Curtis fights. So hopefully that's not the case here. But we got a guy who doesn't try hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, who's on a bit of a skid, versus a guy whose only loss in the UFC was when he took a fight on a week's notice on the other side of the world after a full-blown 3-round war. So, Chris Curtis to pick, Chris Curtis to bet. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big Chris Curtis fan, and if he loses, I'm broke. I'm locked and loaded on Chris Curtis, but there's a reason for that. I've been on Chris Curtis before in the Brendan Allen breakdown. I said if Brendan Allen stands with the guy, he's going to get knocked out. Exactly what happened. In the Phil Hawes breakdown, I said if he stands with him, he's going to get knocked out. Every single person that stands and engages with Chris Curtis gets knocked out. You saw him struggle against Rodolfo at times because Rodolfo's not really like a striker, right? He's a low volume. He just kind of take his time. So Chris Curtis wasn't able to find the timing and find enough counter shots to knock him out. Jack was the same way. In and out, dancing around, wouldn't engage in Chris Curtis. Every single person that engaged with Chris Curtis gets knocked out because he is so good at making those reads, finding the rhythm of the shots. You'll see the numbers for Buckley, and I don't disagree that Buckley was out-volleying him, right? But it wasn't like these were almost all arm shot, landing on the arms, boom, because he's got such a high guard that he's able to just absorb these shots without actually absorbing them, find the timing, and once he gets the timing down, he just knocks every single person out that engaged with him. And Kelvin Gastelum, to his credit, is a guy that does engage. I mean, that's exactly why they put these guys together, because Kelvin is a guy that will get in your face, he will strike, and when he strikes, he leaves himself open to counters because his hands are low. That's just the way he strikes. He's a good striker, a good wrestler, but he does leave himself open to opportunities. Yes, he's never been knocked out. Just because you have never been knocked out doesn't mean you can't get knocked out. Kelvin Gastelum's getting hit as much as anybody, gets dropped all the time. I think Chris Curtis can put him out. I don't think he needs to. I think there's a big kind of cloud over this whole fight that, Chris Curtis has to get a KO to win. And Kelvin's never been knocked out, so I can't pick Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis can do enough damage in this fight without the volume of Kelvin to win that fight. But I think he can find a knockout. I think there's a great matchup. There's a reason why I'm locked and loaded on Chris Curtis for this. I don't think that Kelvin's going to be able to take him down. Kelvin's going to engage. Chris is going to be behind, and then he's going to catch him either once or twice to win a decision or put him out. So I'm me and you, Chris. Let's do this, baby.
I mean, you and I are aligned on this. Obviously, I'm always a little nervous picking against Kelvin because he is so talented. He's so good.
I agree, and I will say that too. And I don't, this might piss off Chris a little bit, but I think he is the more talented of the two fighters. I think you absolutely nail it. But
he just doesn't put in the work.
He just doesn't give a shit. He literally doesn't give a shit. He just doesn't give a shit. And then he's spending the week in Miami. He's like, okay, here we go.
No, I completely agree. And he just pulled out of a fight. Granted, he had a bad cut, but he just pulled out of a fight a little while ago. Like, he's had some wild up and downs, and he's missed weight a bunch of times. Like, the UFC's given him a lot of chances, and I think it's because he does step up on short notice a good amount, and, he's borderline
he's a company guy.
Yeah,
he's a company guy. And I think somebody was even mentioned that in that Discord. It's like every time he's missed weight, the UFC's been like, try to do better next time. There hasn't been really any repercussions or anything like that, or... So yeah, he's a good guy. I think everyone loves Kelvin. Nobody has an issue with Kelvin.
Yeah, he just doesn't put in the work, and unfortunately, that's what we're seeing on his record here. So both of us on the Chris Curtis side. If you're on the Kelvin Gastelum side, then at this point, I would just wait till weigh-ins.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, you might just because that. Telling you, a week in Miami, man.
I mean, if
they say that about NBA teams when they go to Atlanta. Every time some people go to Atlanta, they just get fucking destroyed. The Pacers, when they went to Atlanta, because remember, you live in Indianapolis, right? And you get a night in Atlanta. It's like our losing. I think there was a point from like 1995 to like 2015 where the Pacers were like 7-50 in Atlanta because the players went down there and just partied all night and then showed up and tried to play the game. Got destroyed. That's gonna be Kelvin.
The weigh-ins will be interesting for sure because if Kelvin Gastelum shows up with a six-pack, it's like, then maybe I hedge my bet.
It won't be as good as Chris's.
Well, as long as it's better than this picture, then Kelvin Gastelum may be worth your dollars. Guys, make sure you're a premium member because we'll see what happens after those weigh-ins and could potentially adjust some bets accordingly. Go to WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10 a month. And you're going to get all the picks, all the bets, fantasy plays, DraftKings Optimizer, all the things you could ever imagine for those $10. And we have a $5 super chat from Sam Pierce. Sam is working a 25-hour shift. He said, thank you for making it better. Mr. Salamander, Are you doing another live fight stream Saturday?
Is he a surgeon?
He's probably a fireman, honestly. 25-hour shift. You can't have a surgeon working a 25. You want that
Well, that's
guy?
what I'm like. I don't know. Well, don't they? No, because they sleep at the hospital and stuff. Don't they go? I think there's surgeons that do 24-hour shifts. I think there's literally a guy on YouTube that did like a vlog for his 24-hour shift. Like you're on call in the hospital, ready like a trauma, like an ER surgeon or something like that. And you take a nap, but if somebody shows up, you wake up, you go to work. I think
you get him in a 23-hour shift at 23 hours of a 24-hour shift.
No, because it's not like you're staying up the whole time. You can sleep throughout. If there's nothing going on, you take naps and stuff. So I
assume fireman. I'm guessing fireman.
A porn star.
I don't just slanging it 25 hours, watching this.
That's basically my.
This
weekends.
is what gets him going. You're his fluffer.
Do you edge?
What? I don't know what you're asking, and I'm afraid to.
It's a yes or no. I mean, it's
feels
just
like
yes
a
or
trap.
No. You don't engage in edging?
I don't know what it is. Probably
it's just
not.
a yes or no. No,
it's probably a no.
I think it's something you should consider.
I don't know what it is. It's probably a no. It's probably a no. Yeah, it's gonna be a no. I'm a non-edger.
I've dabbled.
No, he's an RN, just like my wife. They let you work 25 straight. They don't let. I mean,
the last one is very, very bone chilling. I supervise a whole hospital. Hour 24, this dude's walking around supervising a whole hospital.
Yeah, they don't let. In her system, they don't let you work that many hours. They'll literally limit you.
But you're not an edger.
Make a mistake.